Hello guys! Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will dive into the latest twists and turns from Port Charles, where family deceptions run deep. Unexpected revelations shake relationships, and high-stakes schemes escalate into uncharted territory. In the bustling atmosphere of the Metro Court, Josslyn Jax is masterfully weaving a web of intrigue to solidify her undercover role with the World Security Bureau. Fresh off a briefing from the enigmatic Jack Brennan, Josslyn and her partner Vaughn are gearing up for a covert operation at the luxurious Five Poppies spa in the sun-drenched hills of Dalmatia, Croatia. Posing as a blissfully married couple on a romantic getaway, they aim to infiltrate a shadowy network tied to international threats. However, Josslyn faces the challenge of justifying her sudden disappearance from Port Charles and her university studies without raising alarms. Approaching her mother, Carly Spencer, with a carefully crafted story, Josslyn suggests that some time apart could help her gain clarity on her future path. Carly's expression betrays her doubts, her brows furrowed in concern as she probes deeper. Is Josslyn truly referring to creating space from her overprotective mother? Or is this a subtle nod to the complicated dynamics with Vaughn, whose partnership blurs the lines between professional duty and personal tension? To add layers to her cover, Josslyn might even invent details about a fictional internship abroad, perhaps in environmental conservation, tying into her passion for global issues. This ruse not only cons Carly but also tests Josslyn's resolve, as she balances loyalty to her family with the high-risk demands of espionage. As the conversation unfolds, viewers can't help but wonder if Carly's intuition will unravel the deception, potentially jeopardizing the entire mission before it begins. Shifting to a more intimate corner of the Metro Court restaurant, Harrison Chase finds himself utterly blindsided during what should have been a heartfelt discussion with his wife, Brook Lynn Quartermain Chase. The couple, still navigating the joys and challenges of their marriage, turns their attention to the possibility of expanding their family through adoption. Chase, ever the optimistic detective, envisions a future filled with the laughter of a child in their home, perhaps drawing from his own experiences in law enforcement that have shown him the value of stable family units. But Brook Lynn's hesitation throws a wrench into his dreams. As he confronts her with a mix of confusion and hurt, "We can't adopt until you work things out with Gio Palmieri." His voice carries the weight of disappointment, his eyes searching for understanding. Brook Lynn, on the verge of tears, wears a pleading expression that speaks volumes about her internal conflict. She's torn, fearing that bringing a new baby into the fold right now could deepen Gio's sense of abandonment, especially since she's only recently stepped into a maternal role for the young man. Gio, with his turbulent backstory and recent integration into Port Charles society, represents unfinished emotional business for her. To elaborate, Brook Lynn might share anecdotes from her own youth, recalling times when she felt sidelined in her family's dramatic saga, emphasizing how crucial it is to make Gio feel valued and secure. Chase, while upset, listens intently, his police training kicking in to analyze the situation logically. Will this conversation bridge their divide, or will it force them to postpone their adoption dreams? The stakes are personal and profound, highlighting how past connections can complicate future happiness in unexpected ways. Over at the vibrant poolside area, Gio Palmieri opens up to his close friend Emma Scorpio Drake in a moment charged with secrecy and concern. With the sun glinting off the water and the distant hum of Port Charles life in the background, Gio leans in and implores, "I need you to promise to keep this between us." His tone is earnest, laced with the vulnerability of someone who's been through upheavals. Recently, Gio has crossed paths with his biological father, Dante Falconieri, a dedicated cop whose own life has been a roller coaster of dangers and discoveries. These encounters have started to melt the icy barrier between them, fostering tentative steps toward reconciliation for shared stories about Dante's Italian roots or Gio's aspirations in music that echo family talents. But is this the core of Gio's confession? Or does it tie into something more pressing? Adding intrigue, Gio expresses worrying about Emma's growing familiarity with the charismatic Professor Henry Dalton, a figure who's stirred up campus buzz with his lectures on ancient mysteries. Emma's bold move in swiping Vaughn's facilities key earlier suggests she's diving headfirst into adventures that could spell trouble. And Gio cautions that her enthusiasm might veer into risky territory. He might even recount a hypothetical scenario where such overzealousness leads to unintended consequences, like exposing hidden agendas at the university. Emma, with her Scorpio heritage of sleuthing, listens but defends her actions, insisting it's all in pursuit of truth. This confiding session not only strengthens their bond but also raises questions about emerging alliances and potential dangers lurking in Port Charles' academic underbelly. Meanwhile, in a quieter setting, Brook Lansing extends a courteous inquiry. "What can I do for you?" This simple question sets the stage for an anticipated dinner with his daughter, Molly Lansing Davis, marking a rare opportunity for father-daughter bonding amid their demanding careers. Rick, a shrewd defense attorney known for his courtroom prowess, and Molly, the sharp assistant district attorney, have both been consumed by cases that pit them on opposite sides of justice. Their meal could delve into a mix of topics, perhaps reminiscing about Molly's childhood escapades in Port Charles or debating the ethics of recent high-profile trials that have divided the town. Spoilers hint at a possible interruption, maybe from an unexpected visitor like a colleague with urgent news or a family member in crisis. To expand, they might discuss the evolving dynamics within the Lansing family, including Rick's complicated history with exes and how it influences Molly's views on relationships. Yet, underlying tensions simmer, as this dinner could serve as a clever diversion. Rick's recent entanglements with Ava Jerome, involving shady dealings around the Casadini estate, add a layer of subterfuge. Ava's mother, Delia Ryan Coleridge, might factor in. But the real intrigue lies in Rick ensuring his blackmail scheme with Ava stemming from Kristina's alleged attempt on Ava's life doesn't reach Molly's ears. Alexis Davis, caught in the crossfire, grows increasingly skeptical when Ava approaches her with an offer of a huge favor. Alexis, who's been manipulating financial records to meet the blackmail demands, eyes Ava warily, her legal mind racing through potential traps. This favor could involve falsified documents or insider info on Casadini assets, but Alexis's doubt stems from years of betrayal in Port Charles. The family's secrets here are a tangled web, proving that blood ties often complicate conspiracies more than they conceal them. Finally, the drama intensifies as Kristina Corinthos Davis ups the ante in her bold plot involving Cody Bell. Determined to dismantle the budding romance between Ava Jerome and her uncle Rick Lansing, Kristina enlists Cody in a seduction mission, sweetening the deal with cold hard cash. At a discreet meeting spot, perhaps under the cover of evening shadows in a quiet park, Kristina proposes, "How about for an extra $10,000, Cody?" With his roguish charm and history of opportunistic ventures, quickly agrees, "Done." This escalation stems from Kristina's protective instincts toward her sister Molly, who recently downplayed any romantic involvement with Cody, labeling them as mere friends. With that barrier removed, Cody's pursuit of Ava carries less personal risk, allowing him to channel his stable hand charisma into winning her over made through fabricated tales of adventure or shared interests in high society intrigue. Kristina, fueled by her own turbulent past and fierce loyalty, sees this as a way to expose Ava's vulnerabilities and prevent her from further entangling with the family. New elements could include Kristina providing Cody with insider tips on Ava's favorite haunts, like exclusive art galleries, to stage chance encounters. As the stakes rise, questions arise. Will Cody succeed in swaying Ava? Or will his involvement backfire, drawing unwanted attention from Rick or even law enforcement? Next, we will explore the devastating fallout from Willow's ill-fated romance with Drew, a cautionary tale that has left her world in ruins after ignoring a year's worth of dire warnings from those closest to her in Port Charles. For more than a year, the tight-knit community of Port Charles has been sounding the alarm to Willow about the perilous path she was treading with Drew, predicting that her entanglement would strip away everything she held dear, and tragically, those prophecies have come to fruition in the most heartbreaking fashion. Flash back to the sunny days of summer 2024, when Willow was basking in marital bliss with Michael. The couple devoted to nurturing their young children as integral threads in the sprawling Quartermain family tapestry. Their home was a haven of stability, filled with the everyday joys of parenthid picnics in the park, bedtime stories, and dreams of a legacy passed down through generations. Yet, beneath this idyllic surface, cracks began to form when Willow and Drew ignited a clandestine flirtation. One that sparked with an impulsive kiss under the fireworks of the 4th of July celebrations. What started as a fleeting moment of passion evolved into a series of stolen encounters, culminating in a torrid affair that not only demolished Willow's marriage but also entangled her in a web of betrayal, especially since Drew was simultaneously romancing Willow's own mother, Nina. To heighten the drama, imagine Willow confiding in a journal about her growing doubts, entries that later surface as evidence of her internal struggle, adding a layer of personal vulnerability to her downward spiral. Drew's facade of genuine affection masked his escalating schemes, from manipulating business deals at the LQ to whispering sweet nothings that pulled Willow deeper into his orbit. All while the residents of Port Charles watched in dismay, their pleas falling on deaf ears. As the affair intensified, it burst into the public eye, sending shockwaves through the town and coinciding with a catastrophic event that nearly claimed Michael's life. A targeted bombing intended for Sunny that left Michael gravely wounded and fighting for recovery in a specialized clinic in Germany. During this vulnerable period, with Michael Oceans away undergoing intensive therapy and rehabilitation, Willow and Drew's bond only deepened. Their secret meetings turning into overt displays of commitment that alienated friends and family alike. The recasting of Michael with Rory Gibson brought a fresh dynamic to the role, infusing the character with a renewed intensity and emotional depth that fans have hailed as one of the most seamless and impactful soap opera transitions in recent memory. Gibson's portrayal captured Michael's quiet strength and simmering resentment, perhaps through subtle scenes where he video calls from abroad, his eyes reflecting the pain of betrayal even as he focuses on physical healing. Meanwhile, the consequences for Willow mounted relentlessly. She faced the agonizing loss of custody over her beloved children, Wiley and Amelia, in a courtroom battle that exposed the instability of her choices. Court documents might detail how Willow's affair led to evaluations deeming her unfit guardian temporarily, with witnesses testifying to the emotional chaos it inflicted on the kids. Wiley's confused questions about Uncle Drew and Amelia's disrupted routines painting a vivid picture of familial fracture. In a desperate bid to reclaim her shattered family unit, Willow made the fateful decision to accept Drew's proposal, convincing herself that tying the knot would forge a semblance of normalcy and pave the way for joint custody arrangements with Michael upon his return. She envisioned a blended household where the children could thrive, perhaps even incorporating family therapy sessions to mend the rifts. However, Drew's deceitful nature persisted unchecked, reaching a shocking nadir when young Wiley accidentally eavesdropped on a heated conversation between Drew and Rick, where Drew callously claimed that Michael had abandoned any interest in the children due to an impending baby, with Sasha fabricated story designed to isolate Willow further. This overheard lie could have been amplified in the show through Wiley's innocent drawings depicting a new family without his dad, tugging at viewers' heartstrings and underscoring the collateral damage of adult indiscretions. Despite a chorus of warnings from allies like Carly, who might have shared her own tales of romantic pitfalls from years past, Willow pressed forward with the wedding, her gown a symbol of misguided hope as she walked down the aisle, clinging to the illusion of redemption for her kids' sake. The wedding day, meant to be a turning point, instead unraveled into chaos as long-buried truths exploded in the sacred space of the church. Nina, driven by a mix of guilt and vengeance, arrived intent on exposing her own steamy liaison with Drew, only to discover that Curtis had already laid bare the scandalous details to the assembled guests, his revelation delivered with the precision of a detective uncovering a conspiracy. Willow's reaction was visceral. She unleashed a torrent of fury at Nina, severing their fragile mother-daughter bond with a declaration that Nina was dead to her, words that echoed through the pews like a final judgment. Turning her wrath to Drew, Willow demanded answers he couldn't provide, his stammered excuses crumbling under the weight of his accumulated lease, perhaps including invented subplots like hidden financial embezzlements tied to his political ambitions. Overwhelmed, Willow bolted from the altar, her veil trailing behind like a ghost of what could have been, fleeing into the night to process the magnitude of her errors. Later, she appeared unannounced at Carly's doorstep, her makeup streaked with tears, pleading desperately for just a moment with Wiley and Amelia, craving the comfort of their innocent embraces to anchor her in the storm. Yet, Carly and Michael, united in their protective stance, firmly denied Willow access, a decision rooted in the raw intensity of her emotional state that could potentially unsettle the children further. This denial, while appearing cold, stemmed from a place of tough love, with Carly perhaps recalling her own custody battles and the importance of stability. Willow's portrayal in these scenes, masterfully executed by actress Caitlin McMullen, has garnered widespread acclaim from the audience, who commend her ability to convey layers of regret, anger, and maternal longing through subtle expressions and heartfelt monologues. Fans online buzzing about how her breakdown monologue rivals classic soap moments. Now, with Willow finally awakening to Drew's manipulative essence, the lingering dilemma looms large. Should she remain separated from her children to allow time for healing? Or might Michael extend an olive branch in the form of supervised visitation, even if full shared custody remains a distant possibility? Next, we will delve into the controversial twist involving Jason Morgan's unexpected plunge into darker territory. A move that sparked debate among fans and prompted insights from actor Steve Burton himself. In the ever-turbulent world of Port Charles, Jason Morgan has long been portrayed as a complex figure, a seasoned operative in the criminal underworld who bends laws without hesitation, yet adheres to a personal code of ethics that sets him apart from outright villains. This moral framework has defined him through countless escapades, from high-stakes heists to protective interventions for his inner circle. However, recent events have thrust Jason into a shadowy act that feels strikingly at odds with his established character, stirring unease among viewers. Amid the escalating mob war between Sonny Corinthos and the formidable arms dealer Jen Sidwell, chaos erupted when a devastating firebombing targeted Charlie's pub, nearly claiming the life of Sonny's daughter, Kristina Corinthos Davis, who was caught in the blaze while simply enjoying an evening out. The attack left the pub in ruins, with flames licking the night sky and emergency responders racing against time, underscoring the ruthless lengths Sidwell would go to assert dominance. In a bold counterstrike, Sonny enlisted Jason to orchestrate the abduction of Sidwell's son, Marco Rios, an innocent bystander with no direct ties to the conflict. Perhaps a college student studying abroad whose sudden disappearance adds a layer of international intrigue to the feud. This kidnapping, involving Marco being restrained and silenced in a dimly lit warehouse on the outskirts of town, marked a jarring departure for both Sonny and Jason, who justified it as a necessary escalation to force Sidwell's hand and protect their loved ones. To invent a fresh element, imagine Jason leaving behind cryptic clues for Sidwell like a personalized item from Marco. To heighten the psychological pressure and demonstrate the precision of their operation, all while Jason grapples internally with the ethics of targeting the uninvolved. The decision to kidnap Marco has left some fans feeling a profound sense of discomfort, viewing it as an uncharacteristic low for Jason, whose actions typically spare the innocent and focus on direct threats. Tied up and gagged during his captivity, Marco's plight evoked sympathy, with scenes possibly showing his fearful pleas muffled by the restraints, highlighting the human cost of mob vendettas. This plot point amplified the messiness of Port Charles' underworld battles, where lines between right and wrong blur under pressure. Sonny and Jason, cornered by Sidwell's aggression, saw no alternative but to adopt this aggressive posture, perhaps drawing from past wars where similar tactics turned the tide. Like forgotten skirmishes with rival syndicates that Jason once navigated with cold efficiency. Yet, the move has prompted reflection on how far these characters have strayed from their core principles, with invented details such as Jason pausing to question Sonny in a tense, rain-soaked alleyway before proceeding, adding depth to his internal conflict and making the act feel even more out of sync with his protective instincts. Addressing the backlash head-on, Steve Burton, the veteran actor behind Jason Morgan, opened up about this storyline during a candid episode of his podcast Stone Cold and the Jackal, co-hosted by Bradford Anderson, who brings his own GH expertise to the table. In their lively discussion, Anderson highlighted feedback from the General Hospital audience, noting that a segment of viewers found the kidnapping arc excessively grim, bordering on a tonal shift that dark in the show's signature blend of drama and redemption. Burton, ever insightful, reminded listeners not to overlook the fundamental nature of Jason's profession, emphasizing that at its heart, Jason operates as Sonny's enforcer, a role steeped in violence and moral ambiguity. He reflected on how, a decade and a half ago, such a storyline would have raised no eyebrows, as Jason was unequivocally the hitman who executed orders with unflinching resolve, perhaps recalling iconic moments like high-speed chases or eliminations that solidified his reputation. To expand creatively, Burton might have shared an anecdote from early filming days, where he improvised a scene of Jason sparing a minor foe, illustrating the evolution of the character's softer edges over time, which now clashes with this return to brutality. Burton further elaborated that Jason's recent portrayal has leaned toward less overt aggression, with fewer instances of the raw violence that once punctuated his storylines, creating a disconnect for fans accustomed to this toned-down version. This shift, he suggested, is precisely why the kidnapping feels jarring. Viewers have grown used to a Jason who's more guardian than gunslinger, perhaps involved in community efforts like mentoring at-risk youth in Port Charles, a new element that contrasts sharply with his current deeds. During the podcast, Burton admitted to racking his brain over when Jason last took a life, underscoring how the character's arc has prioritized loyalty and restraint in recent years, making this relapse into old habits all the more startling. He pointed out that the writers seem intent on revitalizing Sonny's classic persona, commanding, no-nonsense mob boss of irreverent in bold moves like Sonny's elimination of Jagger, which reasserted his dominance and edge after periods of vulnerability. Inventing a detail, perhaps Burton speculated on future episodes where Jason reflects on this in a quiet moment with a confidant like Carly, questioning if such actions align with his growth or signal a regression. Ultimately, Burton philosophized on the inevitability of change, both in the soap opera landscape and in real life, acknowledging that characters like Sonny and Jason aren't static. They evolve, mature, and sometimes circle back to their roots. He touched on ongoing dialogues within the show about exiting the dangerous mob life altogether, with Sonny voicing aspirations for a quieter existence, perhaps dreaming of a legitimate business venture like expanding his coffee import empire into ethical sourcing. This progression mirrors how people in any walk of life seek reinvention, adding a relatable human element to the high-drama stakes. As the podcast wrapped, the hosts invited fans to weigh in on Marco's kidnapping, prompting discussions about whether it enhanced the tension or crossed an uncomfortable line. What are your thoughts on this intense development? Share in the comments, and stay tuned for more General Hospital insights. Port Charles never rests.